Well, good morning. I'm Will Anderson, the President and CEO of Blue Ridge PBS. I wish I could be there with you today, but I'm not able due to a prior commitment. I hope everyone's enjoying the conference, though, and being able to connect for the first time in person in a couple of years. This year marks the 55th anniversary of Blue Ridge PBS. See, we were created in an era when there were basically only 3 television networks in the U.S., CBS, NBC, and ABC. Depending on the terrain where you lived and the weather on any given day, you could count the number of channels on your TV that you had for your TV on one hand. And in bigger cities, well, maybe 2. But at the time, many homes still only had black and white televisions. Now that's really hard to imagine today, and some can't imagine that at all because we have access to the beautiful color screens of all sizes now, from smartphones to big wall-mounted flat TVs and so forth. But I want you to think back. You see, this was a time before the arrival of cable television, cell phones, personal computers, and the internet. Now, all of these things most of us take for granted today, but back then we only had an access to a variety of very few educational video content. It was limited. Now, our station, WBRA Channel 15, as it was called then, was created by a group of forward-thinking, concerned citizens and educators with the goal of bringing educational television to the region. That's not just entertainment, it was truly just meant to educate. And in 1967, that dream came true when we signed on the air as the very first, now I'm going to say that again, the very first all-color educational television station in the entire country. Now, our technology was cutting edge back then and was featured in RCA Magazine. Now, that's the big industry magazine for television of the day. Now, with our shiny new station, we started to bring the world to the classroom and the classroom to the world in our living rooms across Southwest Virginia. See, we produced a variety of documentaries and public affair programming, and to aid the schools in the region, we had studio teachers that broadcast lessons live covering subjects such as math, geography, and so much more. I mean, you can't imagine that being the only way today, because that's a norm. I mean, you can't imagine it being something of the day being exclusive, but it's the norm today. See, a couple of years after we came on the air, the Public Broadcasting System was formed. That's PBS. We became a part of their non-commercial network. Today, the PBS system encompasses well over 300 stations nationwide, and it's known for entertaining and education content, including long-running favorites such as, well, you well know, Sesame Street, Masterpiece, great performances, American Experience, Nature, Nova. I could go on and on. Now, more than half a century later, Blue Ridge PBS continues to be the cutting edge of technology. We offer a variety of services by making video content available where people are, on whatever device they choose to use, i.e. your phone, your tablet, your computer, your watch, your decoder ring, whatever it is. We have now, where we used to only be able to have 1, we have 5 traditional broadcast channels happening right now with 3 streaming options. That's 8 services that we have. And coming in June of 2023, we'll be launching our sister station. Now listen to this. It's the first all-digital public television station in the country. PBS Appalachia, Virginia will be that station. This will be the first PBS station launched that does not have a transmitter. That's significant because every other television station has a transmitter. It's a very exciting time, and we look to move into the future with this new initiative. But whether it's a broadcast channel or a digital channel, or all of our channels have one thing in common. See, it's programming that can inspire and entertain. Blue Ridge PBS has a long history of award-winning program productions as well. Our production team has been on the recipient end of multiple Emmy Awards and Telly Awards. Those are huge awards in our industry, and I know you've heard of the Emmy Awards. See, we've also received recognition from the Virginia Association of Broadcasters on numerous projects. From talk shows to documentaries and everything in between. We're the station that is a leader within the community. We've produced content on a diverse array of topics, and our reach goes far beyond Southwest Virginia. In our early years, we produced and distributed Art Cart. That's aimed at sharing how-to art projects with elementary school children across the country. Another series we created and distributed nationally got its start during a downturn in the economy in the early 80s. See, it was a cooking show that used easy-to-find, inexpensive ingredients put together and served with a dose of humor. And that is a recipe for success, no pun intended. It was recorded live on tape, and the show was unedited, and recipes were presented with mishaps and all. I mean, if the blender blew up on set, they used that. Cook and Cheap proved to be so popular that it was produced for more than 2 decades and is still providing humor online and in reruns. I'm not sure I'd eat the food though. Most recently, we've also worked with independent producers to launch and make available programs to public media stations across the nation, including Growing a Greener World, Beyond Your Backyard, and Vision Keepers, which is a program about sustainability. See, we've been a presenting station for one of your favorite shows, The Best of Joy of Painting with Bob Ross, for more than 25 years. Repackaging the show and working with a national distributor to make the series available to PBS stations nationwide and internationally has been the focus of our station for a long time now. And we even had our documentary, Bob Ross, The Happy Painter. It was carried by public media stations across the country and won an Emmy Award. It's worth noting that in addition to happy trees and clouds, one of Bob's favorite things to paint was water, including snowscapes. And water is why everyone is here today. Yeah, not to paint like Bob did, but to look to the future of water and how it affects all of us. Water is power. Without it, there's no life. It has the ability to carve canyons from rock. It is an essential need at the most basic cellular level. On the larger scale, it's needed for quality of life and industry. Many take it for granted. You turn on the tap and you expect it to be there and to be safe. Everyone needs access to clean water, no matter their station in life. Yet, water can also destroy. Floods can wipe away homes. Rising seas and changing shorelines put communities in peril. On the flip side, the lack of water can also put communities at risk. Rivers and lakes that feed and fuel the economy can dry up. Raging wildfires can destroy acres and acres, all for want of water. In his book on Lake Michigan, titled The Lake Effect, author Fred Carlisle has this to say about water. Who has not sensed the magic of the mesmerizing appeal of water? We seek the calm, the peace, the happiness of being near water. Water both consoles and intimidates, creates and destroys, purifies and poisons. It is with all of this in mind that Blue Ridge PBS plans on diving into the subject of water. Earlier this year, Dr. Sunil Sinha from Virginia Tech approached us about doing a follow-up to an earlier documentary he produced at Penn State in 2007-2008. The program was called Liquid Assets, and it focused on water infrastructure as well as providing a look at its fascinating history of water. The show also delved into public water and wastewater issues facing communities both large and small. Over the next 2 years, Blue Ridge PBS will partner with Dr. Sinha and a talented committee from across the country and beyond to create a new documentary on water. The committee working on this project comes from a variety of disciplines, including water utilities, professional associations, technology advisors, along with government representatives and academics. All are experts in their field, and each has valuable ideas and insights to lend to the project. Several of the members of the committee are here today, and I personally extend my thanks for their support and the work that they will be doing over the upcoming 2 years. They are the water experts. Tying together their connections and knowledge of all things water and our expertise in creating documentaries, we plan to produce a 90-minute documentary about just that, water. We will make the program available to other PBS stations in the system across the United States. Along with the broadcasts and programs, bonus material will be available for streaming and video on demand, all being where everyone is with their tablets, phones, cell phones, and watches and decoder rings and all of that, right? In this world that is ever-changing and evolving, television and video are powerful mediums. We'll be able to use this documentary to go beyond 30-second sound news bites. It's a chance to share a story and a narrative about water punctuated with memorable visuals and sound to capture the imagination and entertain and to inspire. These things can touch viewers in an instant and also have long-lasting impact. This brings to mind a story I heard recently about a young boy who watched PBS with his grandmother. On Sunday afternoons, they tuned into the Victory Garden, hosted by one of my very good friends, Jim Wilson. They heard things like cool season vegetables and drought-tolerant plants, those terms. Both were things that a lad growing up in Mississippi, in a Mississippi swamp, had never heard of. Those are foreign words there. Fast forward to now, he's an adult who is an avid gardener. Upon a recent visit to the site in Massachusetts where the Victory Garden was recorded, he said, "I can't even begin to tell you how all of this piqued my curiosity and made me who I am today. The garden is now just a little park with a table, but that was enough for me to sit in the very place that opened my eyes to the world." Such a small thing, watching someone talk about plants on TV, yet so influential to a 10-year-old gardener to be. Water is so powerful. Planting the seed about water, its power and its future, is what we hope to plan to do with this new documentary. There were so many, many stories to tell about water. News headlines in the past year illustrate many issues. Here's just a few examples. In North Carolina, the historic black town of Princeville is at risk of disaster. Incorporated in 1885 by former slaves, it sits on the banks of the Tar River. Slow-moving hurricanes and rising ocean levels threaten the existence of the town. While there were times in the east there were too much water, in the west there was not enough water. Summer brought dramatic pictures like Lake Mead and Lake Powell on the Colorado River, both in drought conditions with water levels dropping so that the lake bed was exposed in many places and sites surfaced that hadn't been seen for years. In Jackson, the state capital of Mississippi, many residents were without water for a very different reason. You see, in late August and early September, years-long water infrastructure problems came to the forefront, making water unavailable for drinking, washing, or flushing. Folks had to rely on bottled water, hand sanitizer, and portable toilets. But not all of these stories are negative. See, in Norfolk, Virginia, a 6,500-foot lab is being built. This is incredible, that will go with the flow of rising tides. The building has a deliberate lifespan of 30 to 50 years or so, that when rising seas, the levels reach a certain height, it can be disassembled and moved to allow for the living shoreline that's there. These specific stories may or may not be in the documentary, putting a documentary like this together is like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, one piece at a time until the final picture emerges. With the help and guidance of the committee and many others, we'll find the pieces and put that puzzle together. Primary filming begins in 2023, followed by writing and editing, bringing the documentary to fruition in late 2024. But this project is much more than just the documentary. Working in partnership with innovative educators and Virtual Virginia, we'll create educational and outreach materials for K-12 teachers as well as the community at large, with the goal of teaching current and future generations about the importance of water. These materials, based on various components of the documentary, will be available online for anyone who wants to access them. That's the important part here. We'll also leverage reach to the public media community to get the conversation started across the country at the grassroots level about water and its future. We'll encourage stations to hold screenings about the documentary or with the documentary, have panel discussions, produce videos specific to their community, and much, much more. Blue Ridge PBS came on the air 55 years ago with a mission to educate and entertain. With this project, we'll keep moving forward on that mission and share the important story of water. My thanks once again to Dr. Sunil Sinha, the documentary committee, and all of those who have shared their input and expertise to inform this project. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you.